It's that time again. What's up, everybody? This is Dads Lads Kebabs. Hope you enjoy the show. Deuces. Boom. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Dads Lads Kebabs. Sorry, it's been a while, but good Mickey. Good afternoon, Mickey.
How are Mickey. You? Good Niall. How are you?
Good Mickey. Good Mickey.
Right. I'm all right, mate. I've discovered a new drink.
A new drink?
Yes. A vanilla lavender iced whipped latte in Costa. I've had 3 this weekend alone. Oh, it's
Say
very...
it again. A vanilla whipped...
No, a vanilla lavender iced whipped latte.
It's too much.
It's in 3 different colours. You've got the purple at the bottom, which is the lavender, obviously. Then you've got like a creamy colour, and then like a white on the top. And it's iced, and it's like, oh, it's got cream. It's very, very good. So
it's warm, isn't it? It's a bit warm.
It's 25 today.
Oof.
Yeah.
Might be aircon out, I think, later.
Mine's there. Might have to turn the bastard on, but you wouldn't hear anything. So
I like it. It's a bit
loud.
It's a bit loud. I'm gonna say it's a bit like the way that I use mine is I whack it up to full blast, shut the bedroom door, put the pipe out the window, and then basically give it like a good 45 minutes of, and it does cool the room right down, especially in the evening. It's nice enough to go to bed, and then obviously you wake up sweating again. I couldn't leave it on overnight though. It's too distracting.
Yeah, I used to leave mine on many years ago, like 24/7 for like months at a time. But yeah, I know what you mean. Now I live in this house. If I have it on, I have it on until I go to bed. Then I turn it off, and then by then the room is cold.
Yeah, that's what I like. Anyway, so this evening we've got a very interesting episode for you. We are going to go back to our criminal files, and Mickey is going to basically take over, and we're going to sit back and listen. Grab your popcorn. It's going to get interesting. Mickey, take it away. He's back in the ring.
Scared you. You thought I was frozen. Yeah. So my death. Horrible, horrific murder of choice this week, ladies and gentlemen, is the Night Stalker murder files.
Good one.
So this was based in California, LA.
California.
That sort of area. So the perpetrator was obviously the Satan worshipped, fucked in the head Richard Ramirez. This particular gentleman was born on the 29th of February 1960. Now, he used to hang out after his murders at the Cecil Hotel, a particular hotel that we've spoken about a couple of times due to it was the Alicia Lamb death in the water tanks on the roof, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the fact Ghost Adventures has been there investigating and various other things. Now, this was in a very, very rundown part of LA, Skid Row in particular. Skid Row, so everybody, all the people who don't have homes, they're living in their tents, rats running around. Basic, real bad human existence for the sad people that lived in those conditions. Anyway, so these murders went on from 1984 to 1985. Yeah, LA, San Francisco and California were the areas that these particular murders took place. There was 14 confirmed murders, numerous rapes, assaults and burglaries. At this time, the whole of the west coast of America was on high alert. They would stay in their houses. They were scared to go out at night. And yeah, what a horrible time. Imagine knowing that someone living in your area could just turn up at your house, kill you, kill your family, rape you, cut your limbs off, leave you in horrific circumstances. Sometimes he would leave his victims alive just so that there's like people to tell, and the horrible conditions that they went through. And obviously they would tell the police, and the police would slowly leak certain things to the press. That is not a good place to live. I mean,
when was his first? What was his first?
His first was in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I actually have the specifics of murders. There was an awful lot to write down and to get into.
Because it started out, didn't it, as like a bit of a rampage. Really,
his first murder is in April 1984. He killed he went into the house obviously at night time, killed the husband, then raped the wife, and then he killed her afterwards. But that was quite common. He would kill the husband or the kids, and then he'd rape the wife. So obviously she'd had the pain and the terror of seeing her family members die in front of her, and then he'd obviously horrifically rape her, and then he'd kill her anyway. And yeah, it's you can't imagine that sort of level of suffering.
Thing is, back then it was something like that was, I mean, even now, but it was extremely horrific. There wasn't, they didn't have much previous to go on before that in that area to say it's a copycat, or I know they had, I don't know what year the Zodiac killer was, but there was
I've heard of those. Yeah, that was the person that was going around with horoscope connections, wasn't it?
Yeah, he would basically send like cryptic messages to the police, just basically saying, "I'm going to do it on this date, this time," and they'd have to break the cipher. But that was sort of similar to, I don't know what dates wise it was. I think it's around the 60s though, similar time. And then there's the Manson murders as well. He was LA for a little while, wasn't he?
Charles Manson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another. Who knows? We may even get onto that at some point in the future, in our crime series. Who thinks we're gonna carry on after 6? We might just keep going, because who don't love crime? That's why we watch all the documentaries on Netflix.
They are gripping though. I watched The Night Stalker. I watched it like cover to cover quite quickly as well.
Twice. I've seen it twice now.
And
it's good.
It was because they had no idea. They had nothing to go on at all.
Not really.
Time. They just had these brutal murders, and then it would basically be there'd be no trail. So they were like clueless, and then like you said, people were living in fear because we all know the news gets in your face, and it's in. What they used to do is sit and watch and live by the news. So anything they got was from the news, and it was all bad.
Yeah, there was no social media around in those days.
Everything was CNN or whatever,
It was like the old COVID bulletins, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. 8 o'clock at night. What was going to happen tomorrow? What was the next step that the country would take? And it was pretty much that sort of thing for those people living in those times. But he did target homes at night. That was his MO. Night times when it was dark, it would break in through unlocked doors and windows. So we would go around checking which apartments, buildings, because obviously certain areas of America, their houses are quite basic. I believe they're not bricked up buildings, or most of them are some of them are ground floor, aren't they? Ground level timber built. Yeah, so I don't know how strong they would be, but then he didn't really break in. He would just go through a window, because obviously that part of the country is always hot.
Yeah.
So in the evenings you wouldn't. I mean, you could lock your doors, couldn't you? But the windows, I can understand the windows being open.
But then they have those mesh. They have those mesh windows as well, don't they? Sometimes they have like those mesh back doors and.
Yeah, and they shut and they bang. You see them in the films, don't you?
Well, you just don't know, but like you said, clearly for him it was a lottery of where he could get into. It wasn't it wasn't calculated. It wasn't Wasn't
No,
pre
it didn't.
pre
It didn't matter if you were white, you were black, you were
no.
like Asian, anything like that, Indian. It was just who's in this house. You know, I'll fuck them.
Kill him, man.
I'll destroy them. And you know, lots of weapons were used during these attacks: guns, knives, blunt objects. I mean, blunt objects. That imagine that. You know,
Like you said, it was extremely like violent killings. It wasn't
horrific.
And these
torture.
These weren't 30-second acts, quick stabbing out sort of thing. These were, like you said, these went on for some time. They're not. He was in the house for a little while.
Yeah.
I think he was helping himself to food as well.
I believe so, from what I remember from the documentary. Yeah.
Yeah, they would basically find like a glass of juice on the side, or things like that. Like he wasn't trying to hide a trail, but at the same time they had nothing for. I mean, how they caught him is just fucking bizarre. But
we'll get to that.
Of course.
He fucked up on that one.
Yeah.
But
did he or? I don't know.
We'll
get to that bit. We'll get to that bit
later. Yeah. So the victims weren't only men and women. He did kill children as well, which you got to be some fucked up mind to kill kids. But he would also leave satanic symbols, locations graffitied on the walls, messages at crime scenes for the police, and also he did spare some victims, like I've already said, and he'd force them to swear to Satan. Which obviously he was a Satanist, and he used to perform his worship in one of the rooms in the Cecil Hotel. But the thing is, though, he used to go out and murder these people, and then he'd just walk through the lobby into the hotel, covered in blood, and just go up to his room, because it was that low down, and the level of care that anyone gave back in that area, that was just so poor, and no one gave a fuck.
It was at the height of. It's definitely the height of cocaine. It's definitely the height of crack, and obviously heroin and things like that. But yeah, opioids active
in that area.
That. It was post Vietnam, wasn't it? So people were, definitely experimenting with it. It was a fucking. I mean, even now, Skid Row is known for being a notorious drug using gateway of just hell, basically.
Well, I think anybody that is homeless is normally on some sort of substance just to get them through the day, get them through alive, because people say, oh, you shouldn't give them that, they'll just buy alcohol or drugs. But if that's the only thing that keeps them alive and keeps them going, to be able to take the pain and the suffering that they're going through, who's to say, they can't use that? We're not all perfect.
The thing is, the Cecil, I don't know, because he had, like you said, he had that as a location. He obviously had a car. He had access to a car. I mean, that Cecil building just gives me the creeps anyway.
I think it's under reconstruction at the moment. It may be finished now. I don't know. I know they closed it for a while to redo it because it was. I mean, it looked all right, but obviously they wanted to make it better. But for that sort of area, would it work? I don't know. But
it's LA is such a strange. California, LA is such a strange, especially LA. LA itself is such a cut down the middle place, isn't it? You've got
it's like Vegas,
extreme wealth and extreme poverty. Like and that's why I don't get people that like, oh, I want to move out to LA and all, and I want to live that sort of. I want to break Hollywood.
I was one of them for a while. I wanted to go to LA and live. Yeah. But I caught up in the dream.
Yeah, but then what were your reasons?
Well, I had just signed a contract for a TV show that was going to be put out in America, for a company that worked within Paramount Studios in Hollywood.
Oh.
And we were going to be on Punch TV. I'm not sure if that channel is still available. Any Americans listen, please let me know in the comments. So Punch TV, that was what it was going to go out on. So everything was filmed, sent over, but they were taking too long and they breached contract, so we cancelled that.
But
took it back.
You got caught in that limelight of feeling.
Yes, it's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, we're gonna be on TV in America. We're gonna be like these British ghost hunters on the screen. I mean, it would have been if we just waited, but you know, you don't want to wait, do you? You
No, you
just
want
think,
it now.
oh,
You want it now.
yeah, exactly. And you get caught up in the old, oh yeah, and everything was Hollywood, baby, and it was, yeah. Looking back now, 2013, it's quite funny, but
But it takes you back to that time of crime, though, of Richard Ramirez. Is that part of the MO? Do you reckon that because he used to target quite nice areas, let's say.
yeah. But
Was it a jealousy thing, or was it just a? Was it?
no, he blamed when he was captured. He blamed his childhood. It was really troubled childhood. He was abused by his dad, as most of these cases are. Brain damage that apparently he suffered because of the beatings from his father. He started taking drugs at the age of 10, so that doesn't help, you know. And he also, at the age of 15, he watched his cousin kill his wife in front of him. So he sat on the sofa or wherever, and he's found his cousin's house, and just tops his wife, you know. So in front of him, and that's gonna lead to scarring,
Of course,
like torment in the brain for a 15-year-old or anyone really at that age. So that doesn't help, you know. Drugs at 10, your mindset is different. Your mindset is very warped at that age after being on drugs. You know, age 10 probably really affects you worse than it would as an adult. I don't know, because as an adult, your brain is quite focused on life, really. Yeah. At 10, you don't know as much, so you could be like, I don't know. It proper ruined him.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine. But obviously these are the things we talk about in this episode, people. This is what we've seen, what we've read, what we've researched. This is not, we don't know 100% facts. So if we have anything wrong, if any of the things that we talk about in a country that we don't live in, all over the world, then we do apologise, but we are just doing our research. If anyone was involved in anything we ever talk about, or knows of people that were involved, or the story, then we don't mean to offend. We would just like to, you can educate us, and we'll use it as a learning curve, because obviously there may be people that listen that know some people that were involved, and they say, well, that's not true. We can only go by what we research.
Absolutely.
From whatever's online. Obviously not all the whole truth is ever disclosed, so we don't know everything is 100%. So, you know, just disclaimer for anybody that's going to stab me. So, you know,
not Richard. Is he dead now?
Yes, he's dead now. Yes. So we'll carry on.
How many victims in total?
There was 14 confirmed murders, but obviously there was numerous rapes and assaults of people that lived that weren't obviously killed. Mm-hmm. But he was convicted in 1989 of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murder, 11 sexual assault, and 14 burglaries. So it's quite a large number that he's he's racked up there. Yeah, you know. But yeah, he was arrested on the 31st of August 1985, East LA, after being recognised by the public and chased down. Now, if you'd like me to go into that in more detail at this point.
Yeah.
The thing that started the police, so the two main characters of the documentary that we've seen, and also in real life, because this is real, was Frank Solero and Gil Carrillo. These two gentlemen, they really, at certain points, they were really flustered and they didn't know which way to turn. But obviously, as more and more murders and crimes were happening, at some point, he's going to slip up, and there will be some things that are left that give the police some sort of something to go on, basically. And one of the one of the nights he went into the house. I don't even know if he actually killed anybody on that night. From what I remember, I think he was disturbed and he left. He left a shoe print in the mud, in the soil, outside one of the windows. Obviously, they're low windows, ground floor house, and yeah, apparently this shoe was quite unique. There was only 6 shoes that had existed in the particular size that they discovered. So it was size 11 to 11.5 of this particular brand. So obviously, in that sense, it's a bit easier to track somebody. You find out which shops sell this item. Does the shops that sell them have any records of anybody that's purchased this, like a credit card or debit or whatever, or maybe it's a mail. Did they have mail order back in them days?
Well,
not sure. Collection
enough,
maybe.
These shoes were a mail order.
Oh, were they? If you just searched that.
No, so no. These, from what I recall, these shoes were European. They weren't American. So they weren't, like Timberland work boots or Chuck Taylors or Vans or whatever. No. These are a European running shoe, from what they found out. So somebody's had these shipped in.
Oh. Yeah, so it's a bit easier to obviously track him down, and that's where he made the mistake. But obviously they found out this is a shoe, this is rare. It went public. Yeah, the police tracked down the shop that actually sold this particular shoe that he'd bought, and obviously they put it out in the press. But Ramirez saw the news and he got rid of the shoes. Apparently, yeah, off the Golden Gate Bridge. How ironic, eh? So obviously he thought he was one step ahead of the police at that time. But yeah, they also found a print on a stolen Toyota, and it was an orange colour Toyota at the time, and it was obviously quite a unique standout colour. So I think he'd stolen that, and his print was discovered. So obviously they tracked him down, put his name to that crime, and that's when the police started sharing and decided to actually go ahead with this, because that's all they had. They didn't have much else.
No.
They're probably thinking, if we release this and he sees it and we can't find him, that's it. We're never going to find him. And he might just keep killing and then just disappear. But then if they're sure or pretty sure it is him, it might lead to people seeing him and noticing him, knowing what he looks like, and then they could let them know where he is, and then lead to obviously his arrest. But what happened? He went to visit his brother on the 31st of August in 1985, but his brother wasn't home, and at this point, during his travels, he didn't realise that the press, the newspapers, the police, they'd released his face, so he's on every single newspaper. And yeah, so obviously he returned. Obviously, he went to his brother's house, and he then obviously returned early because he wasn't home. Obviously, in them days, didn't have mobile phones, couldn't ring. Where are you? You working late or whatever? So he decided to come back early, back to the bus station. And when he returned, obviously back there, he obviously walking through the bus terminal. And he saw the police. He just walked past them because obviously he didn't know that everybody knew who he was, or that the police were actually looking for him. He thought he was still anonymous. He hadn't seen the press. So yeah, so he obviously walked past, and that's it. His brother lived in Tucson, Arizona, but he was obviously unaware that his face had been released. And as he's walking, obviously he walks out the bus terminal. There's a few Hispanic elderly ladies started shouting at him, and he's just like, what? He just carried on as if, can't be me. And obviously as he's walking down, them little stalls that sell the newspapers and stuff, and then he sees his face on the newspapers, and he's thinking, fuck. So he ran across the Santa Fe freeway, Santa Ana freeway. He attempted a carjack, and he was pulled out by angry passers-by. So he's obviously trying to beat shit out of someone in a car, trying to nick their car so he can escape. And as he's in the car trying to pull them out, the locals have obviously listened to the ladies, seen who they were shouting at. They've run over and they've basically tackled him. He was hit on the head by Manuel de la Terra with a fence post. So good old Manuel there. Bosh. Yeah, apparently there was a group of 10 people. Bosh. Group of 10 people chased him down, restrained him, and relentlessly beat him.
Good.
This was at 8 a.m. in the morning, so obviously he'd probably gone overnight to Arizona to visit his brother. Wasn't there, came home and travelled overnight. Obviously, the press released the pictures in the morning newspapers. Hadn't seen them. Yeah, so they arrested him 8 a.m. So yeah, 43 charges in total that he was accused of. His court case cost $1.8 million at the time, which was the highest ever in record history. Obviously, getting it to court, arranging all the evidence, etc. The only case that's ever beat that is the O.J. Simpson case. So, you know, it's
fits like a glove.
Exactly. Imagine that, just being caught or tracked down because of a shoe print, and then, you know, obviously they must have had old CCTV of the building, and then they found the Toyota, and the footprint at the house was the scene of Barbara Pan. She was an Asian lady. Her husband was killed, Peter, with a bullet in the head. He beat and raped Barbara, and he left her for dead, but I don't think she died. So that's where his footprint was found. Yeah. So, you know, so obviously his drug addiction started his burglary, and I suppose his burglary then leads to, oh, there's a woman there, I can rape her because I'm a psycho, and then I'll kill her. You know.
But do you just become a psycho? Is it like you said, the whole satanic thing? Like you got to take it. You got to pull the layers back, and it's kind of like where does that fall? Where do you fall into Satanism, satanic? I don't know, however you want to call it.
Satanism, Satan worship,
Satan worship,
satanic rituals that you do. I suppose
it's kind of like it's a belief thing, right? I think people take the mick out of faith, and you know, people that you know.
It's like exactly. It's like your God.
But is there a book of Satanism?
Yeah, I've got the Satan Bible over there.
Satan Bible, right? Okay.
Yeah, I've got a Satanic Bible, but the Satanic Bible is not what you think. You know, obviously you have God's plan. Yeah, this is what you do. You have 10 commandments. Basically, Satan, the Satanic Bible, the person that you worship, Satan only believed in like one or two less than God. So he still believed in the goodness and all that stuff, but there was just certain things that he didn't believe, and obviously that's why he was cast out of heaven, from what I remember being told. Anyway, so the Satanic Bible does not say worship the devil, you are Satan, you kill everybody that's good. It's nothing like that. It is still good. It's just slight changes.
I guess the same as
like you'd like to help someone in the supermarket, like push their trolley around. Someone else, God thinks you shouldn't do that. You should push the trolley around and pay for their shopping. He didn't believe you should pay for their shopping. Just push the trolley around. You know, just slight variations from what I've been told anyway. So does that make Satan evil? Some Satan worshippers say no, but it's interpretation.
It's how you interpret it. It's the same as the original, not the original, not today's version, but the original Illuminati. So Illuminati, meaning science, they basically went against the Catholic Church, and it wasn't to outdo them or anything or bring down the church. It's basically to say we can prove things with science.
Mm.
It wasn't it wasn't as
A competition.
cutthroat because I mean they turned really violent. The Illuminati turned really violent, especially towards the Catholic Church way back when. But again, if you was any form of Illuminati, you were killed and thrown out into the street.
Mm.
But then, like saying though, he chose his. Is it? Yeah, he chose his god, and
Path. Yeah.
and these worships or whatever he was doing, these rituals and sacrificial lamb and all that crap. And
From what I understand, he would go and do these crimes on these people, go back to the hotel, go out to his room, and then he would worship Satan. Obviously, the bad side of Satan, and obviously saying, "Look, I've done this. This is my offering to you." Maybe that's how he looked at it, and he would do his worship in there. However that looks, I don't know. I don't know what a worship to the Dark Lord looks like. So,
but then, that he's used it as is it his motive or is he just fucked? Do you know what I mean? Stop using your pathway as your backing. Do you know what I mean? Don't be using that as an excuse, being like, "This is who I am." Like, are you just a cunt, basically?
yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
you said the trial cost 1.3 million.
1.8
$1.8.
Yeah.
And when he was arrested, do you know if he admitted to anything? Did he try and?
As far as I know, yeah, he took it on. Because every time he went to court, he would just sit there and laugh at the judge. From what I've seen in that documentary, and he would shout out "Hail Satan."
He had fans though, didn't he? As well,
He had lots of fans that were obsessed with him, that wanted to marry him, and would send him pictures of themselves and letters in prison, and because he was obviously convicted. Did I say when he was convicted? Yeah, 1989. He was convicted, obviously sent to death row.
Because there's a difference, isn't there? There's jail, and then there's prison. In America, you are in jail until you are convicted.
Yeah, like remand. Yeah.
Yeah, like remand. Yeah, but it's, you're on a special wing whereas there you're in a separate place. So he then was sentenced to. I don't know what he was sentenced to.
Oh yeah, death. Sentenced to death.
Oh, he was sentenced. So the death penalty, was that around in LA? Was it?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, he didn't die. He never actually made it to the chair though. He died of complications related to B-cell lymphoma on the 7th of June 2013. So that was at San Quentin State Prison.
San Quentin, eh?
Yeah, the big famous one.
San Quentin. So he lived a long time then afterwards.
Yeah. So 89 he was convicted. Yeah, you're going to death row. You're going to be killed. However, I imagine it was a chair. To be fair, in them days, they probably didn't hang people then. In the 90s, I don't think.
The late 80s, yeah.
So 24 years on death row.
They do say, and I've watched a couple of death row documentaries, and they say, would you rather wait 24 years or just have it done now? Because you're waiting every single day, knowing that it could be. I mean, fuck him, right? Fuck him.
Don't feel sorry for him.
Like, yeah. But this is what I'm saying. Like, why is it not an instant thing? Why is it not like you've been sentenced to death, take him down, put him straight in the chair here, do it here?
I think you have the right to appeal, which is fair enough. That could be, I don't know, maybe 2 years. 2 years.
No, fuck them. 60 days.
Well, no, because it takes a lawyer fucking 4 months to send a letter. So.
No, fuck them. 60 days. Listen, if you ain't, what's the appealing like that?
No, but some people have been on death row that were wrongfully accused and convicted, and will it be fair to them people to die and then think, oh shit, we should have fucking had longer time. He would have been out. Whoops.
Listen, case by case. But I'm sorry, somebody like that, he's killed women, men, children, sexual assault, the lot. All right, he's rap sheet. He's big enough to say, "You're done."
Yeah, 100%. Yes, he did it. See you later. Off with his head.
It would be this. It would be the same as, you know. I mean, oh fucking hell! Like, the dude was a bad dick. You know what I mean? Like, again, there's been a few across America that have gone in that area, especially with the whole Satan side of things. The whole, are they pagan gods? Not pagan gods, owl gods, and, you know, rituals, especially rituals, like, you know, just fucked.
Some rituals that happen somewhere in the world.
I remember, what did he call it? Was it Helter Skelter? He called it Manson.
I don't know nothing about Charles Manson, to be fair.
Well, he had a cult. He had a hippie cult.
Yes,
that,
yeah.
That basically started out as 3 or 4 people and turned into like 50, 60, and they were making money. And but you know what I mean? Like, again, just fucked.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like to have been around in that sort of time, especially if our dick is running around trying to fuck me and kill me.
It is. Do you think about then as well? Like, cops, police, they didn't have it easy, did they? In terms of evidence, or you know, they didn't have access to everything that we have now. You know,
they can find things out on their phones. They can get things sent to them instantly. You know, from computers to phones to tracking devices, all that shit instantly. Whereas in them days, they had their old fucking dial-up computer that was green. Do you remember? It was grey screen with the green writing, and it did back in the old days.
Yeah, which were useless. Basically, they were
with the white keyboards and the white computer screens, and big bulky things.
Practically notepads.
Yeah, so it didn't help them. They weren't given the best equipment to use.
No CCTV.
Not really.
Like, that's the thing, right? You commit a crime now, you are guaranteed to be somewhere along that day, the crime that you commit, somewhere you're on some form of CCTV, whether it be a dash cam, a camera,
a ring doorbell.
Yeah, fucking look at that, ring doorbell. I mean, I will say I've seen a few burglaries in the town that I live in, and again, ring doorbell, they capture everything.
There's a particular burglary that happened in a charity shop in the town where I work the other day, and they got literally my face on this screen now is how clear it was on CCTV. Then he's been seen the last 2 nights on ring doorbells going along the streets of that said town, trying door handles on cars, and he's still walking round. And it's like, the police have all this. They know who he is, because it's come out and said, we know who this person is. Why they're not getting him? Just walk the streets, get the police out at night. It is obviously, my car was burgled in that particular town, and at the time there was 3 to 5 burglaries of cars per night for a 2-week period. Then the police said that they'd have arrested somebody finally, and it did seem to stop. But now this particular gentleman's been seen, and it's back again. But the fact he goes into, apparently it's a very well-known, famous charity shop for a particular person that the shop is named after. Something happened. I think it's a she. She was a person, and that's why the charity shop was started. When you've seen him walking through, taking the money and everything, and it's like, you scumbag, absolute scumbag.
Charity shops even work. Like, charity shops is on the same board as stealing from the collection plate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're lower than I burglary for me is again. Do you know like when builders have their vans broken into? That for me, I can feel the anger in them.
And
right?
yeah.
And I'm only saying this because recently I've done, obviously, like I said, I did a car boot sale, and there was a few stalls. People were just selling 99% power tools, and I mean, like literally one bloke out the back of his boot had like 60 drills. 60 drills. What are you doing with 60 drills? You're at car boot, right? So you're not. Do you know what I mean? You're not a fucking builder.
You might sell one that you have lying around. You don't have 60 though.
No charges. No chargers. Most of them are missing batteries.
Yeah, because they're in the house. That's why.
They're in the house on charge. Yeah. Most of them are missing batteries. And it's like these people that go around and break into vans. You're just.
Work vans awful.
You're a fucking cretin. Like you are literally. You should look at that person and go, it's pure jealousy. I've got a person that works hard for what they do. They're not earning shitloads of money. All right, they might be a fucking carpenter or fucking whatever they are. Right, and the fact that you're going in to break into their fucking van to steal a couple of drills and a fucking handsaw, like you're fucking lower than low.
I think if they're caught doing that, then the police should look away when the person whose van that is catches them. You know, I'm not saying anything because we're going to remain PG, but the police just say, right, you got him, well done, we're going to look in this direction, whatever happens over here we don't know about, we're going for a coffee and be done with it. I think is vigilante justice acceptable? I think so. I think when the country's justice system is so weak and pathetic, I do think that at some point a vigilante scheme or system may pop up in certain areas of the country.
Jesus Christ.
And that's understandable though, isn't it? I think. When people are pushed too far.
Take it back to your case though. So in the 80s, people started buying handguns in America.
Yes, they did. They were buying guns to protect themselves from him. And if they shot him in the house, the police would have said, thank you so much, and give him a fucking reward.
They were saying that handgun sales went up like through the roof. Like,
yeah. They did.
Know, it's all memory. They're saying the handgun sales went up through the roof. And again, in America, it is your property. You have the right to defend your property.
I think that's right.
Whereas, if for example, say for example, right, somebody broke into one of our houses, right, and no violence involved, right. Somebody broke into one of our houses. That burglar went into the kitchen, fell over the mop bucket, slipped, broke his tailbone. He has the right to sue.
Yeah.
That is mental.
Yeah. It's that's what I'm saying. If you
can't do anything. You can't do anything in your own house.
That's why this country is so bad, and that's why I agree with Americans on some of their policies. You know, the right to arms, the right to protect yourselves. I think if someone comes into your house, you can do whatever the fuck you want because they shouldn't be there. If I went in someone else's house and they fucking chopped me up and blew my head off, I shouldn't have been there. I take that risk when I go there, innit?
You like I said, if you did something, say for example, you did anything, and I mean, you basically swung a punch or whatever, you're just as much as that blame.
I know. It's like they come into your house they kill your dad. You find your dad on the floor. He's in there raping your mum, and you hurt him. He can sue you. It's like, what the fuck? You know, he hit me with a knife, or he cut my finger. I'm going to sue him. Yeah, but you killed his dad. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You hurt my finger. And that is the law in the UK. So anyone out there listening, please laugh at us, because we are a laughing stock of the world at the moment anyway. But that rule at some point has to change. Surely.
It's just, it baffles me for sure. But then, you know, like you said, we're just two blokes that have conversation, and yet it's true. It's all true. Do you know what I mean? It's all
reasonable for self-defense. See, what you do, you bat a shit out of them with a baseball bat, and then you put a kitchen knife in their hand and put their prints all over it, and then like you stab your leg or something, or your arm.
Stab your leg? No,
because it's like, oh, he attacked me, so I killed him. That's the sort of thing that could work, I suppose. I don't know. Like, you shouldn't have to go to them pathetic lengths to protect yourself and your family and try and keep yourself out of prison, because it shouldn't be like that.
Again, it's the same as, you know, cameras, right? I have 4, 5 cameras all around my house, outside, inside. So we would know. If we was out, we'd know. If we was home, we'd know.
Yeah.
But do you think, do they entice somebody more to think they've got a lot of cameras? Have they got a lot to protect? Is that why people do it? Like, it's the same as vans, right? Some of these vans have got these big metal, massive locks on the back. Big,
the round ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the big round. Does that entice them more to think, well, actually, do you know what? They've spent the money on that lock. What's in there?
No, I think it's just desperation. They're scum, and they want whatever's in there, or what they think is in there, so they can sell it, get their fix, their drugs or whatever. That's it. I think it's very simple.
That's what, for me, do you know, like,
to be fair,
do you know people that live in their van? You know, the whole van life community.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that puts me off, because you're in a van, and obviously vans this day and age, the more stealthy they look, the more places you can stay and probably get away with staying there longer.
Yeah.
You know, like, say, for example, you'd stay in Riverside car park, right? Just, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you had to, whatever, you would.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're trying to save money and whatever. But if you're there in a stealthy van that doesn't look like a camper van, and then fucking, let's go, what would their names be? Something like Dean and Craig. Dean and Craig break in with their their balaclavas on. Marv and bloody what's it? Crowbars up.
Harry and Marv, yeah.
Harry and Marv break in.
That's the thing, though. That's what puts me off buying a van to use for that particular purpose, just to drive round. Are people going to think, oh, there's tools in there, and fucking keep breaking my lock?
It's not even that, but they're not even breaking the lock. Some of them now, they're ripping literally the door apart. They're bending the doors back. So it's a whole new door that you need. It's not just a lock.
Yeah.
They're basically getting into these vans at whatever means cost. And I love the videos. The videos where they get caught, and they literally, the people come out and get them.
And then you get them Karens on the fucking comments saying, "Oh, you should be hurting them. You should call the police."
You don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, they might be upset. They might not like the Emmerdale storyline this week. You know.
Oh God! But anyway, what a drift. Back to the Richard Ramirez story.
Well, it's still crime we're talking about. Entering homes, attacking. Obviously, in them days, in America, you can protect yourselves. Like you said, people were buying guns at that particular time to protect their families.
We should do, in talking of crime, I think we should find someone similar on the basis of Richard Ramirez in sort of the UK.
That sort of version. Yeah, Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. So there's
Yorkshire Ripper, Peter
Jack's
Sutcliffe.
Jack the Ripper, the Yorkshire Ripper. There was the guy that used to chop people up and put them down the drain.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh God, there was a TV drama and David Tennant played him.
Oh, yeah, probably it's on ITV, probably.
There was Fred and Rose West. Is that they were?
Yeah, buried him in the garden. Yeah, or the kids and stuff.
Yeah,
Myra Hindley on the moors.
The Moors murders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, they were quite. There was quite a few back then, quite similar. Again, in a row. Now I know one of them. I know the Fred and Rose West one. That's just come on the West.
Harold Shipman.
Good fact for you. You just said it. Did you know all the surnames on Gavin and Stacey are named after the serial killers?
Yeah, because it's Peter Sutcliffe, isn't it? Pete
Sutcliffe.
Pete. Yeah.
The Shipmans.
Oh yes.
And the Wests.
Stacey West.
Yeah.
Gavin Shipman. Oh my God! I never fucking realised that.
I only got told about a year ago, and then I was like, "Oh my God!"
The only one that used to make me laugh is the Peter Sutcliffe one, because it's Pete, not Peter.
Yeah.
Wow, there, Ruth Jones and old James Corden pulled a fast one. Oh yeah, that's fucking weird, man.
I know.
I never realised that.
I didn't realise it until last year. Somebody told me last year, and I was like, "Oh my God, it is."
No, I've never ever seen comments online about that. Any stories in the press, magazines, people's comments on Facebook. Never ever seen that.
Listen, one or two names, okay, coincidence. But to say like your name in the cast, pretty much the entire cast, their surnames after serial killers is just fucked.
Yes, obviously UK ones as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's mad.
Oh,
wow. You're trying to think of names now, aren't you?
Yeah, Dave coaches.
Oh God.
Fingers sniff.
Yeah, but you don't know it. They've not got any names. So you've got Fingers. No. That's what I mean. You've got Fingers, Chinese Alan,
Jesus.
Yeah. So they don't have names, but the families do.
Yeah, the families. Yeah. Oh wow, that's crazy.
Shipman.
Yeah, Harold Shipman. The old doctor that killed all them hundreds of people. He's probably the worst one, to be fair. His were in the hundreds, weren't they? They believe.
Yeah.
Obviously, old people that were his patients, that he either did it for a reason or just didn't like them, I suppose.
Do you know how many? There has been a lot of similar crimes as well. You know, people or family members that will lock someone away in a basement for years, like 20.
Yeah.
Like what was his name? Fritzl.
Yeah.
But there's been a few of them. There's been a few people that have been like. There was one recently where a mother kept her son away for like 20 years, locked away.
And they form that weird partnership, like in love with their captor, don't they?
Yeah, it's called.
I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, I don't, because it's going to come to me. Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they're the only person they see. But there was one. I think there was one recent. There was a film. I think Girl in the Basement. But again, like that was the dad. The dad, but the same as Fritzl. Like he just one day was basically put her in the basement. And that was it.
Quite often, the dad captor would have many children with his daughter in the, isn't it? They'd have many children and not abortions, but obviously miscarriages, babies down there. Then the man would take the baby away and leave the daughter down there still.
I just don't understand. Again, I mean, crime. I find it fascinating in a way that what happens? Like, what happens? There was the case recently. Do you know the girl and the boyfriend that were traveling in a van they were traveling across America, and she
Sure.
I think it was It's a new Netflix one.
Okay.
It's a new Netflix documentary, and he basically he put her in a suitcase, I think,
Huh?
or he just. But I mean, these look like a normal Instagrammable couple. They were basically traveling, they were living life, and just living out the back of a van and just having fun. Next thing, do you know what I mean? Kills her, and then tries to set fire to her, whatever, and then it's like, what switches? I don't. That's the thing I don't understand is what the criminal switch, and it's not criminal because you're robbing a bank. You know, you're a robber. It's a killer instinct, isn't it? In terms of that you have that way of thought.
You've obviously not got that side of you that's scared of the consequence. So if I did something wrong, I'd think, oh shit, I'm going to prison. I don't want to go to prison.
Mate,
So
if I run a red light, if I run a red light by a second, I'm like, do you remember when I first passed my driving test, and I was like, oh my god, did they have a camera? Did they have a camera? I'm going down. Although, funny story, I was driving with Mickey once, and I'd literally not long passed my test, and I didn't just go for a red light. I went for a red light. It'd been on for about a minute. It's like, in fact, I literally crossed the T junction, didn't I? And didn't even look.
yeah, I'm like, no. No, we do know that was red, yeah? Yeah.
Oh god.
Fuck off.
Again, you know, dangerous driving. You kill someone now. I mean, you kill someone in a car accident now. You're potentially doing time.
Yeah, even if it's an accident.
Look at that. There was that young lad that killed his 3 mates. He was doing 60 in a 40, and basically took the bend too hard and killed his 3 mates. He's looking at some serious time. How do you do that? Right now, that's another thing as well. Is how do you somebody like that? Right, you're driving like a dick, or you're doing 60 in a, you know, you're not going, but you do that kind of crime. Again, technically, it's a speeding fine that's ended in a fatal accident. How do you go to prison with somebody that has thoughts of tying someone up and stabbing them?
Exactly. Rehabilitation. It's not going to work well with that person, is it?
You're basically...
You put them in that situation with those sort of minds, and it's going to wear off on them.
It's basically like putting a fucking Yorkshire Terrier in the ring with a pit bull.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got people that commit fucking, I don't know, tax fraud. They're in the same sort of prisons or whatever as, like you said, gang leaders or that have got some real life, dirty life experience. Whereas you've got somebody that sat in an office and they were just trying to save a little bit of money.
Cooking the books, yeah.
Cooking, yeah. How those criminal minds, and how do you think those people leave prison? Or how do you think, prison for me, it's the worst. Like, how does that work? I'd love to, that's what I mean, I'd love to know more about the criminal mind in terms of, or I'd love to, I'd love to talk to someone about prisons, or somebody that works in a prison, just to see.
A prison guard.
Yeah. Just to see what it's like.
See if we can find somebody. Anyone know any prisoners? Have you been in prison? Come on the show. We could do that.
Again, because it's just a different world. Like, and there's a lot of, obviously, you know, a lot of prisons now have got somebody quite notorious in there for whatever offence they're in there for, and I imagine they're like the, you know, they're like the prison, what we call it, the popular one in the prison celebrity, because of whatever they've done or whatever. Anyway, guys, we're going to waffle now. So, thanks for joining us on that episode of Dads, Lads and Kebabs. If you enjoyed the story about Richard Ramirez, Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe. Maybe, I don't know, leave us a comment if you fancy it.
Send us some money. Buy us a coffee.
Hey, we got a message from Costa, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
We got a message from Costa.
Yeah. Glad you boys enjoyed yourselves or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
I was quite pleasantly surprised by that comment. Actually, what a lovely comment for the lads at Costa to give us, or females. We're not prejudiced. But guys, on that note, thanks for joining us on another fantastic episode of Dads Lads and Kebabs. See you in a week. Deuces. Fuck off.
Make sure you lock them doors, people.